Have you ever fallen off track on your weight loss journey and wondered exactly what you should be eating to get back on track? If so, stick around because I'm going to share with you what I eat in a day to get back on track after a weight loss setback. And stick around to the end of this video because I am going to answer a question from one of our Get Fit community members. If you're new here, I'm Ursula. I lost 70 pounds in 9 months, primarily by cleaning up my eating. I focused on counting macros, eating high protein, and eliminating processed sugar. I then started to incorporate running and strength training into my fitness routine. I lost 70 pounds in 9 months. After losing the weight, I had a tummy tuck, and then I went on to lose an additional 16 pounds training for a marathon. If you remember this video from a couple of weeks ago, I mentioned that I had gained 8 pounds in 5 days on vacation and that I was going to follow the meal plan from the Blast Fat Get Fit blueprint in order to re-lose that weight. And so I thought that I would share with you exactly what that meal plan looks like. Now, on this particular day, I actually had to commute to the office, and I talk a lot about meal planning versus meal prepping. Meal prepping is where you tend to cook your meals beforehand and carry them with you, and then meal planning is simply where you are planning ahead, especially if you're having to eat out. You're planning your meals ahead and you know exactly what it is that you're going to eat in order to meet your nutritional needs for the day. So on this particular day, I had to commute to the office and I did a little bit of both. And so let's get right into it. All right, so breakfast is the first meal of the day. It's the most important meal of the day, in my opinion, because it really can set you up for either success or failure on your eating plan for the rest of the day. So on this particular morning, I had a 3-egg omelet. I diced up some onions. I cut up a couple of cherry tomatoes and I threw in some arugula. I also had 2 slices of turkey bacon and a slice of flourless bread. Now, I really like this flourless bread. I find it in the frozen section of my local grocery store. This is called 7-grain flourless bread. It also goes by the name of Ezekiel bread. But this bread is a really good alternative to traditional bread. And so I like to have this on hand. Anytime I have a meal plan that calls for bread, it's a great way to get in bread without all of the carbs of white bread. So here I am in my office. As you can see, I'm multitasking. I'm drying my hair. I'm getting a little work done on the computer. And I am eating my breakfast before I head out the door on my commute. All right, so the second meal on the meal plan is a snack. And so this morning I took with me to work a container that had 2 tablespoons of peanut butter and I took 2 protein shakes. So my snack for the morning was 1 tablespoon of the peanut butter and 1 protein shake. Now, I was still pretty full from the breakfast that morning, and so I didn't necessarily need this snack, but I knew that I needed to get in my protein. So I went ahead and had this mid-morning snack anyway, but to be quite honest, that breakfast was enough to actually hold me over till lunch. I really didn't need the snack, but I had it anyway just to be sure I hit my protein goals for the day. Now, to follow the meal plan for lunch, I needed 6 ounces of protein, a cup of brown rice, and a cup of veggies. And so that morning, I had decided that I was going to eat out for lunch, and I had to meal plan. I had to decide, okay, how can I meet these requirements in order to stay on track for the lunch meal? And I knew the biggest challenge was going to be the rice, because I couldn't get the brown rice at the salad place that I typically go to. And so I had to think real hard, but I decided, okay, I can meet those requirements by going to Chipotle. And so that is exactly what I did. Check it out. So I told you guys I'm not the best at meal prepping, but I am really good at meal planning. And so I didn't pack a lunch for today. I decided to plan ahead and go out and pick up lunch. So for lunch, I need 6 ounces of protein, a cup of brown rice, and a small salad. So I'm going to show you what I decided to do in order to get in those requirements and how I'm going to get them in by eating out. So I ended up ordering 2 kids meals from Chipotle, and these are the build your own taco kids meals. Now I really threw the workers for a loop because I didn't want the soft shell tortillas and I didn't want the hard taco shells. They didn't understand why I didn't want either one of those. But the way I ordered the kids meals was I ordered chicken, the fajita vegetables, the brown rice, and lettuce. And so that is how I ordered them. And I ordered 2 of them primarily because the chicken in 1 kid's meal is only 4 ounces and I needed 6 ounces of protein. So I ended up ordering 2 kids meals this way, and it cost me about $12, but I didn't eat them both. I did eat 1.5 servings of the protein. I had both servings of the fajita vegetables. I had both servings of the lettuce, and I only had 1 serving of the brown rice. So this is how I met the lunch requirement for the meal plan for the day. All right, so the next meal was an afternoon snack, and I decided just to keep it simple, I was just going to follow the same thing that I did for the morning snack, which was to eat the other half of the peanut butter and then have a protein shake. So the 5th meal was dinner, and I try to keep it pretty simple for dinner this day. I ended up having baked chicken and green beans. That was my protein and my vegetable on the meal plan. There is a 6th meal on the meal plan. This is only if you are hungry, you still want something after dinner, you can have protein. And so I didn't have anything additional on this particular day. I was quite full, to be quite honest. I had a lot of protein already, and so I did not want that 6th meal, but it is there. If you are someone who likes to snack late at night, this 6th meal is good for that, but it does allow you to have protein. So I could have had something like 3 egg whites, or I could have had another protein shake or a protein bar or a handful of nuts. I could have had a small side salad. But again, on this particular day, I just decided to forego the 6th meal. It is optional. I just did not need the additional meal. I didn't mention my water intake, but I did end up drinking about 64 ounces of water on this particular day. And I started out very early. I like to start drinking my water even before I get out of bed. I keep a bottle of water on my nightstand, so before my feet hit the floor, I'm drinking water, and then I continue to drink water. I work out in the morning, so I'm drinking water as I'm working out. I have a commute on a commuter bus, and so I actually had some water that I was drinking on the commuter bus that day. So I did end up getting in my 64 ounces of water per day as well. All right, so let's check out my MyFitnessPal and see exactly what my macro counts look like for this day. All right, so here we have breakfast, and remember I had 3 egg omelet with grape tomatoes, onions, arugula, and I had a slice of the 7-grain flourless bread. So for breakfast, I ended up having 22.4 grams of protein, 17.3 grams of carbs, and 15.6 grams of fat. For lunch, remember I had the Chipotle kids meals, so I had 22.4 grams of protein, 15.6 grams of fat, and 17.3 grams of carbs. And this will reflect that I had the 1 serving of rice, I had the serving and a half of chicken, I had the romaine lettuce, and I had the 2 servings of the fajita vegetables. For dinner, I had the chicken wings and the green beans, and so I had 33.5 grams of protein, 29.2 grams of fat, and 7.6 grams of carbs for dinner. And then let's not forget about the snack, because I did have the morning and the afternoon snack, and they were identical. I had 1 tablespoon of the peanut butter that I took to work with me, as well as a protein shake. And so for my snacks total, I had 68 grams of protein, 22 grams of fat, and 17 grams of carbs. Now, you don't necessarily have to drink 2 protein shakes per day on this meal plan. I like to drink the protein shakes because they're convenient. As you can see, I was commuting this day. It was just really easy to throw 2 protein shakes in my bag along with a tub of peanut butter. But you are not required to drink 2 protein shakes. You can always substitute the protein shakes for anything that you like that will get in enough protein for your snack. So I wanted to point that out. So let's take a look and see exactly what my totals were for the day. So if I go to my dashboard for that day, what you'll see is I had a protein goal of 151 grams. I ended up at 158 grams of protein. For carbs, my goal was 76 grams of carbs. I ended up at 68 grams of carbs. So I was under my carb goal. For fiber, I had 18 grams of fiber. Sugar, check out the sugar here. I had a goal, or I had an allowance or a limit of 69 grams of sugar. And for this particular day, I only ended up consuming 12 grams of sugar. Now, you talk about wanting to get over a sugar addiction. This is how you do it. You take a meal plan where you are eating real whole foods that limits the amount of sugar that you're eating, and then you continue to follow it over a period of time. This is what this plan does. In addition to helping you melt fat, it helps you to overcome a sugar addiction. Only 12 grams of sugar for the day. And then the next thing was fat. So my goal was 67 for fat, and I ended up eating 77 grams. So I was 10 grams over on the fat. But now let's take a look total. Here's my macros total. It gives me, I had a goal of 20% for carbs. I ended up at 17. Again, I was a little over on fat. The goal was 40%, and I hit 43%. And look at that protein. I was right on the dot. 40% of my calories for the day came from protein. I actually hit my protein goal for the day just simply following this meal plan. Now, I really like MyFitnessPal because it gives you other information as well. I do have the premium version of MyFitnessPal, and so this tells me those foods that are highest in carbs. It tells me the foods that are highest in fat, highest in protein. If I wanted to find out what were those foods that had that made up the 12 grams of sugar, I could go back to the nutrients and click on sugar, and it tells me here those foods that were highest in sugar. So I know exactly where the sugar was hitting in the foods that I was eating. So looks like 3 grams came from the peanut butter, 2 came from the protein shakes, lettuce, had some, the green beans, as well as the fajita size. So that is where the hidden sugar was in my meal plan, but I only had 12 grams of sugar for the day. And just imagine if I continue to follow this meal plan every day for the next 30 days, I'm going to overcome a sugar addiction, and I'm also going to burn some major fat. Now, I was really excited to show you this what I eat in a day because I really want to stress to you that when you're trying to lose weight or you're trying to lose weight again after a regain, it is the same concept. You have to eat clean, whole foods, and you don't have to starve yourself. You don't have to be overly restrictive. You guys saw everything that I ate on that particular day, and it was a lot of food. So much so that I end up skipping the 6th meal of the day. And you know, a lot of times I'll hear people say, well, you know, it's just not enough food for me. I need more food than that. But the thing is, when you're eating the right foods, if you're not eating a whole bunch of carbs, if you're not eating a whole bunch of sugar that is forcing you to have cravings that forces you to continue to eat for that sugar high. When you're eating enough high quality protein and you're starting out first thing in the morning and you're continuing to eat that protein throughout the course of the day, it is absolutely enough food, and it is enough to help you to burn the fat and lose it for good. You saw I ate only 12 grams of sugar that day. That is exactly what you need to do for that midsection. When you have that belly in the front with the rolls like I had, it was all sugar. It was because I was eating so much sugar. But when I started eating like this, when I started to follow this meal plan and I was eating very limited amounts of sugar, and you saw they were hidden sugars, right? That wasn't even like anything processed. But when I started to really tone down the amount of sugar that I was consuming, that fat around my midsection melted away. This is the style of eating that will help you to melt the fat and get fit. If you are interested in picking up a copy of this meal plan, and I just showed you one day of the first week of the meal plan, but if you're interested in learning more about this meal plan, check out blastfatgetfit.com or follow the link in the video description. You can pick up the meal plan, you'll pick up the exercises. I'll explain to you the focus method that I used in order to lose weight. You'll get a 30-day plan to get you started burning the fat and getting fit. All right, so I'm going to answer a question from one of our Get Fit community members. Brenda Solers 9750 asks, does this work with no workouts? Thank you for the question, Brenda. And my answer is yes. The meal plan actually works without working out. When you are trying to lose fat, nutrition is 80% of the equation, and you have to get that right. No matter how much working out you actually do, if you don't get your nutrition down first, you're never going to be able to lose the weight. You are just going to end up on this cycle like I was, where I was working out all the time and I would lose and gain the same 3 to 5 pounds. And it was simply because my nutrition was still a mess. Not only was I not eating the right foods, but I was still eating all the wrong foods, including processed sugar. So yes, I'll say that the meal plan works without actually working out, but I highly encourage you to move your body in some manner in order to help you with that caloric deficit that you need in order to burn the fat. In addition to helping with the caloric deficit, working out, especially if you're strength training, will help you to preserve your muscle mass. And we tend to lose muscle as we age. So especially for us women over 40, it is extremely important that we do whatever it takes in order to preserve those muscles. So even if you're not doing cardio, but you can do some strength training, I highly, highly recommend that you add that to your routine. And if you pick up the Blast Fat Get Fit Blueprint because you want the meal plan, I actually give you those strength training workouts to follow along to as well. And you can do them right in the comfort of your home. Thank you so much for the great question, Brenda. If this video has been helpful to you, take a moment and give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't joined the community yet, take a moment, hit the subscribe button. I would love to have you here as part of the community. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.